it would decimate the industry. You're talking the loss of a $70 billion industry, over 300,000 jobs across the country, and it's a surprise to all of us. I mean, we saw things coming, but we didn't know it was going to be so detrimental to us.
A South Carolina lawmaker wants the state to regulate and tax Delta-8 and hemp-derived products. The Spartanburg representative pre-filed the bill 2 months before the upcoming legislative session.
The South Carolina Bureau Chief, Shakira Speaks, gives more context tonight to the details of this proposal.
Tobacco and vape shops like the one behind me have been popping up in shopping plazas across the state, many selling Delta-8 THC hemp products. A newly filed bill would create new rules for the production and sale of those hemp products, with hopes of reducing confusion in the legal and illegal products in the state. The gray area between marijuana and hemp-derived products is widening.
The sole difference between legal hemp on the one hand and illegal marijuana on the other is the concentration, the percentage of one cannabinoid, a molecule called Delta-9 THC.
The difference is chemical-based, so it often causes enforcement issues in South Carolina. The state's current law allows for any part of the plant with THC concentration that doesn't go over 0.3% on a dried weight basis. Anything above that percentage is considered marijuana and becomes illegal.
The number one challenge is frankly just a lack of understanding about what they are and their legal status.
Rob Kite had cancer in 2009. He used cannabis during his chemotherapy. Kite says the drug changed his symptoms so profoundly that he changed his career path to become an advocate. He's now a hemp lawyer and supports a newly filed South Carolina bill to regulate and tax hemp products.
It seems clear to me and my colleagues that these Delta products are legal in South Carolina. That being said, the Attorney General and SLED disagrees, has a different interpretation. And so for that reason, among other reasons, I think this law, which makes it absolutely clear and explicit that these products are legal.
The bill calls for a 5% sales tax on each product. The money will pay for state agricultural officials to regulate hemp-derived cannabinoid products. Businesses manufacturing or selling the products would need licenses by January 1st, 2025. The cost would be $250 for each retail location, and producers would pay $500 for their licenses. Customers would have to be 21 or older to buy the products.
A bill such as this one that has reasonable regulations that go to the heart of the things that really matter. Again, quality, age gating so that minors don't have it, and identifying what's in the product. Those things are well accepted by the hemp industry.
The bill won't be introduced or discussed until the South Carolina legislative session begins in January. For now, reporting in South Carolina, Shakira Speaks, Queen City News.
First at 5 tonight, testing for THC. How do police officers know the difference between legal hemp and illegal marijuana? What's the question people are asking after Charlotte Metro Police released body camera footage showing a controversial arrest that happened last month?
The couple in that arrest claimed they were smoking something they legally bought from a smoke shop. Queen City News reporter Casey Jones is live from the CMPD Crime Lab. And Casey, how can officers know the difference?
Well, short answer is there's no way to tell the difference, at least by looking at it. Drug dogs can't even sniff out the difference because both plants contain THC. And that's why CMPD officers brought samples to this crime lab behind me to test to find out exactly what they were. But experts say the type of test that chemists performed here delivered flawed results. Christina Pierre and Anthony Lee claim they were smoking legal hemp at a bus stop on West Arrowwood in November when police approached them.
Oh, it smells like you're smoking weed.
Well, this is stuff from the store. They sell it in the store. It's THCA.
Are you smoking weed? You guys smoking weed?
It's coming from the store. It's from the
well, I can smell it coming from that.
The officers proceeded to arrest Lee, and Pierre interfered, causing a massive police response, a viral video, and now a suspended police officer.
The substance that they were in possession of was certainly illegal marijuana. It was at a level much higher than anything you'll get in buying hemp or anything with THC at a store that sells it legally.
Lab results from CMPD's crime lab show the substances tested positive for marijuana THC. But hemp lawyer Rod Kite says the lab used a gas chromatography test, creating flawed results.
What the lab did that tested this particular sample is it actually created illegal marijuana from legal hemp. In other words, it created the very compound that it was looking for. And in creating that, it then determined that this was illegal marijuana, even though it was only illegal marijuana because the test created it.
Kite says the high-performance liquid chromatography test can detect legal hemp from illegal marijuana, but it's fairly new, more costly, and most departments are not using it.
However, now that hemp is legal, the test has to be different because now legal forms of cannabis, what we call hemp under the law, can contain THC. And so it's important that the test properly measure the amount of THC in a sample to determine whether or not it's legal.
When it comes to handling legal hemp flowers like what you see here, Chief Jennings says officers assume anything that smells like weed is weed until proven otherwise.
If we don't want officers to address misdemeanor marijuana use, then make it legal.
Kite says because of the gray area, even smoking legal hemp in public is assuming a risk that you may be confronted or even arrested by police. He says you can carry around your receipt or the wrapper, but even that is not a foolproof way to avoid police encounters. So here's a question. What happens if you purchase something from a smoke shop that you believe is legal hemp? Then it's tested in a lab and it comes back as illegal marijuana. Who's liable for that? I'll share what the lawyer had to say coming up at 6. Reporting live from Uptown Charlotte, Casey Jones, Queen City News.
Welcome back. Time is 9:42. Hemp versus marijuana. The difference is sparking debate in North Carolina as some courts in the state are allegedly empowering police searches that some law enforcement leaders call unconstitutional. Some court rulings have put additional requirements on police to say why they thought something was illegal marijuana and not legal hemp. But this month, the North Carolina Court of Appeals ruled that that's not necessary, allowing law enforcement to more aggressively search and arrest people without needing any proof that the person targeted might have been engaged in illegal activity.
So before we get into the legal issues here, let's clarify the difference between marijuana and hemp. The only real difference between the two plants is that hemp can't get people high. It has a significantly lower concentration of THC, which is the chemical that gives marijuana its intoxicating effects.
All right, so let's bring back Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes. This ruling seems a little problematic.
Understatement of the century. I mean, probable cause. You need probable cause to, I guess, stop, to stop, detain, or, investigate your crime, the allegations of a crime if you're an officer. We have a constitutional right that prevents illegal search and seizure. So let's walk through what that looks like. Before I can stop, before I can seize, before I can prevent you from walking about this earth as you want to do as an officer, I have to either have a warrant, so I go get a physical warrant to arrest you and stop you, or I have to have probable cause to stop you, and now I can find if there's other things there to be able to charge you. Reasonable suspicion, walk through the entire process, right? My concern with this is that, and I'm not alone in this, the Conference on District Attorneys, the SBI, all of these folks before they came out with this wrote that it would be problematic, that it would be hard, it would be extremely hard to find for officers to find probable cause because you can't tell the difference, you can't distinguish the difference between marijuana and hemp based on smell. So then you have this ruling where the court is saying, well, smell alone, smell is enough. Before it used to be smell combined with something. Like I see a gun, I heard something, I heard some drug slang, that's what the court said before, which I think is funny on its own right, but because you can combine it with smell in drug slang, that was enough. The court is now saying you don't need any of that, that you can have smell alone and that would be sufficient, while even though you can't distinguish the two. Drug sniffing dogs can't distinguish the two. So you can have a substance that is legal, but have now probable cause to stop you and search you, which typically you have to be doing something illegal for them to do. This is definitely a weird position to be put in as a person sitting on the side of the road, because this is where most of these encounters will occur, and an officer now will be able to unconstitutionally search you, which seems like it will be a violation of your rights.
So we know that hemp shop owners, rural residents, they are worried now, right? So what do businesses, drivers that transport hemp products, Like, what do they need to know now?
Just be prepared to deal with it later. I know in that last piece you guys talked with Mackay about the pilots are authorized to make a determination and then have to deal with the consequences later. If they're putting safety in the front, the officer will make a determination on the scene that I believe this is a marijuana, I'm going to arrest. And then later they'll deal with, okay, you know, actually it was hemp, never mind, false alarm. Well, that sounds great, court, but let's look like what that sees in real life. What happens in real life is this person is now arrested. They may lose their job. This arrest is still there. So now you have to use your one expunction, which is an expungement in our state. Yeah, so they made a decision that ultimately turned out to be wrong, but this person is charged, life ultimately upended for having a product that is legal in our state. I don't know how the court got to this rationale, but it was a unanimous decision. And I think this is one that's old way of thinking, not connecting with a new laws that we have. My judge in Michigan, he was not for medical marijuana that was being implemented at the time when I was up there. And so he would do everything within his power to ensure that that case went the distance. And I'm saying, well, Your Honor, we talk about the cases before. I'm like, Judge, they did everything they were supposed to. It was locked. It was locked in another room. Yeah, but we got to figure out, not that he was trying to push it that way, but he was just so against it that anything that was presented to him, he'd want to take it all the way to the line to ensure that they did everything by the book. And it's like, Judge, it's legal. You can't fight this one.
Khalif, I want to keep on with something that you said there. The state data shows that African Americans make up nearly 2/3 of marijuana arrests in North Carolina, even though that black people are less than 1/3 of the population. White and black people use marijuana at roughly the same rates, right? So when you're charging on something like this, the state crime lab also doesn't have the technology to differentiate between what's hemp and marijuana. So when we talk about ruining people's lives here, this is going to be something where we could see impacts and people will say, well, you know what, the state crime lab can't even vindicate me.
Not where we could see impacts, where we are already seeing impacts. The impacts are going to be there. The disparate impact in the criminal justice system is already there. The disparate impact here, where you're saying a person can be arrested for an item that's not illegal, is problematic on a couple of reasons. First of all, the criminal justice system is based on funds. Like, do you have the resources to hire someone like myself, not to diminish a public defender, but their caseload is just different than mine. And so I don't think you'll get the same attention to details with your cases as you would with a private hire. That's why folks go out and retain private attorneys, because it's more of a white glove treatment. It's more, hey, I have 1 or 2 or 20 cases as opposed to the maybe 100 or 100 plus that they're having. Extremely qualified, just overworked. And so that's why folks will go those resources. And sometimes does that mean you get different outcomes? It does. I mean, it oftentimes does to come down to the facts of your case. Did they have an opportunity to review it and say, well, actually, this was not marijuana at all. This was hemp. And because the lab never ran a test, this should be tossed out immediately. But you've already had to pay for an attorney. You're going to have to pay for the expungement. Those are the types of things that will cost you as the end user in the long run.
All right, Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes, thank you for weighing in on all those topics.
One part of the spending measure to reopen the government is likely to shut down some businesses. The legislation contains language that would recriminalize many kinds of hemp-based products containing small amounts of THC. Queen City News reporter Shakira Speaks talking with a local hemp store owner about the measure putting his livelihood at risk.
We have people that range from age 4 all the way to 95 years old coming in for the products, and they don't all come in for the products that make them feel euphoric.
Robert Shade has been running the Hemp Doctor since 2018. He sells products like gummies, oils, and even seltzers for consumers looking to relax or reduce pain. They contain tiny amounts of THC, the same active chemical in marijuana. That will come to an end when the spending resolution to reopen the government becomes law. It contains language that would make all products containing THCA and Delta-8 THC illegal again. That's 99% of products in Shade stores. In October, 39 state attorneys general called on Congress to clarify the definition of hemp, arguing THC products are intoxicating, like marijuana or alcohol.
$11.74 after taxes.
In 2018, President Trump signed the Farm Bill into law. legalizing the sale of hemp-derived THC products as long as they contained a very small fraction of delta-9 THC. Under that law, products with higher levels of THC are illegal.
It would decimate the industry. You're talking the loss of a $70 billion industry, over 300,000 jobs across the country, and it's a surprise to all of us. I mean, we saw things coming, but we didn't know it was going to be so detrimental to us.
The new measure would give businesses 1 year to close down shop unless Congress revisits the hemp issue.
We have 365 days to continue the fight.
Shade wants lawmakers to preserve a lawful market that protects consumers and supports farmers and small businesses across the country. For now, reporting in Huntersville, Shakir Speaks, Queen City News.
All right, we want to bring in our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes, on this issue. Khalif, looking at how this would all shift, one of the things we're talking about is, okay, if you take away the legal way to get some of this stuff, that doesn't mean the products just disappear. Do you think that this could create something where you see a lot of these shift over to the black market?
I don't think the THC limit is high enough for it to go to the black market. But let me say this, before we go for it, we can't go another second. You think you know, folks, and then Andy drops that gem about Christmas Story and threw me completely
There we go. Okay. That is a real issue.
Completely
I'm
different
glad you
topic,
brought back up.
but it was THC related. I can say that, but no, seriously, when you look at the amount that's in there, even if they shifted it to the black market, it's not enough to get you substantially high. And so those products, like the man mentioned, will probably burn up. You're going to have to reseed, recrop. Businesses that are in place right now, the 1,500 suppliers that are licensed in our state, probably will go out of business. This will be a disastrous blow to the industry, not just in the country, but specifically here in our state that seemed to be in front of the game. People were positioned for this to take off nationally, and it's not. It's 2 steps backwards.
Okay, so but this doesn't take effect for a full year, right? Until this happens. So what can farmers do? Can farmers unite? What for 365 days? What do they need to do to stop this from happening so that they don't lose this revenue?
It's just like any other business venture. Hopefully you didn't plant seed already, because if you already planted seed, you got a year to now either take it back up and replant. That's going to be problematic. So this will be an opportunity for businesses to grow and business to shrink. If someone out there, waited and were closely watching this and maybe did not put their seed out there at this time, okay, maybe they still have a large supply of dollar resources to be able to reinvest into this new grade. But even attempting to sell it, you got to look at the numbers, and this is important. Under the current law, 2018 Farm Bill, it was based on weight. And so you could have 1 gram, but 3 milligrams of delta-9 THC. Under the new thing, weight is not there. So that same gummy, it's 10 to 20 times stricter for the law, because now you're not taking into account per gram. So that's going to be the problem when you're looking at these products that, like that man said, 99% of my products on the shelf, because trying to fit it underneath this category, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to produce anything in our state that will meet these numbers and still give you the benefit that folks are looking for, not the high, not the buzz, but the medicinal purposes. It's not going to be there.
Could this come up for a vote to keep the bill as the way that it is and stop whatever they've proposed from happening?
I mean, the folks have already spoken. In our state specifically, you got 2 senators that said, look, we need this. We need these protections, because right now it's an area that needs to get regulated further, and this is one way they think regulation can help. So I think there's no stopping this from right now. President Trump probably will ultimately sign this when it gets on his desk.
Well, Khalif, when this comes, he signed it last night, but as far as we look at taking this away, what does this do for searching people? Because obviously right now there's kind of that gray area when you have the Delta-8, Delta-7 products versus actual marijuana. So does that kind of bring that back in? Like, if it smells like anything, well, I know this can't be legal, so now that must be illicit drugs.
I'll give you a quick answer. You would think, logically, if you can't tell the difference between the smell, you can't pull someone over, right? Probable cause. Well, the courts have spoken and said cops are able to still pull you over even though they can't distinguish between the different smell and the two. So, yeah, even though they're saying that you can't legally tell, you can still get pulled over for it.
I have a feeling this is not the last time we're going to talk about this over the next year. All right, a lot of folks upset about this. Khalif, thank you very much.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.